Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manophishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutabadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sakrijatam Sahagana Raghunanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namavo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratvishay Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Apta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Pavancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktaranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srimad Bhagavat Mahapuran Ki Jai. So we'll be continuing our study of Srimad Bhagavatam from 18th chapter. So someone can read this summary. We will continue again. So we'll just recap the summary and also for today's whole thing can be read. You can assign Anuj Pro.
So first two devotees are not there, so I'll start. Mine is number 3.
Please.
Verses 1 to 9, chapter 18 overview, Adhyay Katha Sar. Sud Goswami describes Maharaj Parikshit's attitude towards being cursed, his surrender to Sukdev Goswami, and his dealings with the personality of Kali. Verses 10 to 13. The sages of Naimisharanya express their doubts about the 1,000-year sacrificial performance they have begun. They explain how their bodies have become black from the smoke. They glorify Sud Goswami as well as the value of hearing about Krishna from great devotees and request him to describe the pastimes of the Lord.
Yeah, sir.
Sud Goswami describes the reason for his elevation to speak as be in terms of giving credit to the sages. He glorifies the Supreme Lord. He expresses humility in regards to exalted nature of the Srimad Bhagavatam, manifestation of Krishna himself. Verse 24 to 31. The story of Parikshit Maharaj. Sud Goswami narrates how Parikshit Maharaj became extremely fatigued while hunting in the forest. While searching for water, he entered the hermitage of Shamik Rishi, who was sitting silently in meditation. Not being received by the Rishi, Parikshit Maharaj, by the will of the Lord, became angry. The king thought that the sage who had coldly received him should thus be coldly rewarded. So he garlanded a dead snake. Verses 32 to 50. Curse of Shringi and his father's reaction and prayers. Shamika Rishi's son Shringi, after hearing about his father being insulted, impudently cursed Maharaj Parikshit to die in 7 days by a bite from a snake bird. Shamik Rishi laments when he hears what his son has done and accepts responsibility for the injustice towards Maharaj Parikshit. He prays to the Supreme Lord to forgive his son's foolishness.
Yeah. So this is a summary of our whole chapter. And we'll just see in some small PPT form I just shared. but we'll go ahead with our today's current section. So this is what we have seen from 1 to 3 verses. We have seen how Sutta Goswami, in his astonishment, summarized everything about Parikshit Maharaj, starting from birth and up to his achieving the abode of the Lord. All things are summarized in 3 verses. So, and then he glorifies the devotees who take shelter of the Lord. Nottama shloka vartanam dushatam tatkatamritam syat sambraham vikalepi smaratam tatpadam. There will not be any misconception at the time of death, those who surrender to the Lord. That was the glory of Parikshit Maharaj. And then he specifically speaks about Kali events, how Parikshit Maharaj dealt with Kali. Of course, the famous verse, non-dveshti Kalim Samrat, Sarangeva Sarabuk. He is extracting the essence, just like a honeybee or bumblebee. So that's how he dealt with Kali, and he took the essence of the Kali. And then we have seen how sages glorify. Of course, this is 11 to 23, where of course we didn't complete till 23. We completed around 16, 9 to 16. Where Sutta Goswami is now glorifying Krishna Katha, the eagerness of the sages to hear Krishna Katha. Sutta Goswami just spoke and summarized everything about Parikshit Maharaj and Kali, and he glorified the Krishna Katha, importance of hearing Krishna Katha in the association. So then sages, Naimisharanya sages, started blessing the Sutta Goswami and then glorifying his association. Tulayamala Venapi, Naswarkam Napanarbhavam. The sages glorified Sutta Goswami, and they glorified the taste of Krishna Katha. O Nama Trupte Drasavit Kathaya. So who can give up who will be satiated? So we have seen that we have only satiation because of material motivations. Those who have material motivation, they will be satisfied. But those who are Ahaituki Bhakti, so then only we will have Apartihata Bhakti. When there is no motivation, when there is no cause for any specific cause or motivation to do bhakti, then only there will be uninterrupted devotional service. Causeless devotional service will lead to ceaseless devotional service. So that's the beauty of bhakti. That's what they glorified. Sages are glorified. Sages are glorifying Krishna Katha. And then they were also glorifying the speaker and the Katha and their eagerness to hear. The Bhagavat Pradhana, Shushrutatam, Nodarjaritam, Vishuddham. There are different qualifications for the speaker and the hearer and the Katha. So that's how they glorified. And of course, from 16th onwards, we will see today. Then we'll come back here. How the famous story of Parikshit Maharaj becoming angry with Kali. Angry on Samika Rishi, and giving a kind of a wrong etiquette, was from the external point of view. Of course, by the will of the Lord, Prabhupada revealed in many of the purports. We will see how Prabhupada revealed many points about the whole incident itself. So we we completed the 16th verse, where the sages of Naimisharanya glorified Krishna Katha, and then so they asked, please describe the topics of the Lord, which are in relation to Parikshit Maharaj and Sukadeva Goswami. So we'll start with the 17th verse today. Tannah param punyam asamritartham akyanam atyadbhata yoganishtam आख्याह अनंताचरितोपपन्नम पारीक्षितं भागवताभिरामम. क्या please?
Thus, please narrate to us the narrations of the unlimited, for they are purifying and supreme. They were spoken to Parikshit Maharaj and they are very dear to the pure devotees, being full of bhakti yoga. What was
Yeah,
spoken to Maharaj Parikshit, what is very dear to the pure devotees, is Srimad Bhagavatam. Glory and comment of Srimad Bhagavatam.
content. Yeah,
Srimad
yeah, please.
Bhagavatam is mainly full of the narrations of the activities of the Supreme Unlimited, and therefore it is the science of Bhakti Yoga or the devotional service of the Lord. Thus, it is Para or Supreme, because although it is enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with the devotional service of the Lord.
So here the final words of the sages of Naimisharanya. They are requesting him again, so to narrate the pastimes of the Lord, which were spoken to Parikshit Maharaj and which are also dear to devotees. Because here they gave wonderful glorification of the Bhagavad Katha, how it is supreme, param, it is punyam, purifying, and then it's adbhutam, wonderful, yoganishtam, compacted in bhakti yoga. The Ananta, it's unlimited Lord's activities, which are spoken to Parikshit Maharaj. So, and then it is very dear to the pure devotees, Bhagavatabhirama. So they are glorifying in various ways about the narrations of the unlimited Lord. So that's how this whole Srimad Bhagavatam, especially first canto, it's very, very special in a sense that we know the history of how Srimad Bhagavatam translated by Srila Prabhupada in Vrindavan, the whole first canto. Then he felt this, now I am completely ready to take up the mission of my spiritual master. So that's how the first canto it has a great a special place in the sense that Prabhupada translated it, personally edited it, proofreading, traveling to Delhi from Vrindavan quite often, and then meeting the different press people, talking to them, negotiating with them, buying paper, personally carrying the paper, printing them, and of course proofreading them, and then editing again, printing them, and personally going to different bookstores and trying to sell them. I mean, not exactly selling, of course selling, but distribute them. So it's a thankless task of Prabhupada, what he did for all of us. The whole Bhagavatam, especially the first canto, it's a unique place. So he himself mentioned that before going that just I am not traveling, but Bhagavatam is traveling. I am just trying to assist Srimad Bhagavatam in the form of Krishna. So that's the beauty of the first canto, and its purports are also, as we are reading, it's a unique purports. Prabhupada also commented once that whatever I want to speak, everything there is in the first canto. So that's how he gave the essence of everything in the first canto. So here the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam is spoken, and it's para, as Prabhupada mentioning, its glories are mentioned about Bhagavatam. It's para supreme because although it's enriched with all knowledge and religion, it is specifically enriched with devotion service. Bhagavatam has everything, and especially propounding the pure bhakti, unmotivated, uninterrupted bhakti. Dharma projita kaitavatra paramam trimatsaranam satam. So that's the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. Sota uvacha aho vayam janma kritotyaha sma Vruddhan vrutyapi viloma jataha tauchkalyam madhim vidhunoti shigram mahattamanam abhidhana yogaha.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sorry, Prabhu.
No problem.
Sri Suta Goswami said, "O God, although we are born in a mixed caste, we are still promoted in birthright simply by serving and following the great who are advanced in knowledge. Even by conversing with such great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births."
Can you read the highlighted portions?
Okay. Suta Goswami did not take his birth in a Brahmana family. He was born in a family of mixed caste or an uncultured low family. But because of higher association like Sri Shukadev Goswami and the great rishis of Naimisharanya, certainly the disqualifications of inferior birth was washed off.
So here this verse is now the section starting where Suta Goswami is replying in the sense that responding to the inquiry of in series of Naimisharanya, they asked about narrations of the Lord in connection with Parishit Maharaj. So before that, he is expressing his humility and glorifying the Lord. In glorification of the Lord, we express our humility as well. So he is expressing, especially in the 16th, 18th, and 19th verse, he's saying about himself, how he got this opportunity and how so glorious, how he became so glorious. That's the point here. So though he was born in a mixed family. Suta means it's a mixed family. Viloma jata. That's what here used the word Viloma jata. How Prabhupada translates born in a mixed caste. Yeah. Dauchkalyam, disqualification of birth. So Suta Goswami born in Viloma jata, Dauchkalyam. Though he was like that, but aho vayam janma brutodhyahasma mahattamana abhidhana yoga. Because I am associating with Mahatmas means of the great souls. So here Prabhupada taking great souls mean by association with Sukadeva Goswami. Because he was the student of Sukadeva Goswami. He was in the assembly. Of course, Sukadeva Goswami was there in the audience when Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parishit Maharaj. Sukadeva Goswami was listening and hearing everything. So because of his association of Sukadeva Goswami, and he is also giving credit to Naimisharanya sages. Here is the beauty that the speaker is feeling, and his consciousness is such a high that he is feeling that great because of their association. I am being qualified to speak. So this is especially mentioned by Acharyas, Srila Jiva Goswami, and they also, Suta Goswami is thinking like that because of their association. I am elevated to speak. Just by agreeing to the fact to speak Srimad Bhagavatam, that gave me qualification to speak and to elevate in my birth. So generally the Dvija is the second birth. So here Prabhupada is mentioning about qualification of inferior birth. Though one is inferior by birth, first birth, and still they can be by qualification. If they have Brahmanical qualification, they can become a Brahmana, Dvija. So he is feeling that now he became a Dvija, means second born. Why? Because of their association. The association of Sukadeva Goswami and the association of Naimisharanya sages. That's how he is feeling, and he's expressing his humility. So like that. Mahatmana Vidhana Yoga. Can you please read these underline and the highlighted regions?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah, this highlighted and underlined. Can you read?
Yes.
Both.
The transcendental science or the science of Krishna has to be learned from the authorities. And when one becomes conversant in the science and preaches it, he becomes still more qualified. So, Suta Goswami had both the advantages, and thus, undoubtedly, he was completely freed from all disqualifications of low birth and mental agonies.
The bottom.
So, yeah, the rigidity of so-called caste system in Hindu society became prominent only within the last 100 years or so, when the number of Dvijabandhus or disqualified men in the families of higher caste increased.
So, of course, Prabhupada always points out that when it comes to point of the Brahmana birth, Prabhupada had point to make. Prabhupada always makes a point, it's not by birth, it's by the qualification. Chaturvarnam mayasrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha, not janma karma. Guna karma vibhagashaha. That's the point here. Prabhupada is quite emphatic on that point every time. So because of that, Prabhupada is making that our whole system is spoiled because of the rigidity of caste system. It became prominent only within the last 100 years. So disqualify Brahmanas because of them. So Prabhupada is pointing out that. Yeah, whoever conversant, Prabhupada always quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Whoever learns the science of Krishna, say Krishna Tattvavetta, say Guru Hoy, of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's famous verse. Okay. Of course, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's same point Prabhupada brings up here. And then Prabhupada makes here the mental diseases of the present generation are more acute than the bodily diseases. It is quite fit and proper to take up the preaching of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world without delay. Yeah. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to purify the whole atmosphere of polluted world by sending qualified preachers all over the world to preach the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, and remains with the Indians to take up this task scientifically and thus to do the best kind of humanitarian work rather than performing some stereotyped imitation philanthropic work such as hospitals, such as opening hospitals. So Prabhupada is very much here in purports also many times he triggers the identity. Generally, Prabhupada is always emphatic on we are not the body, we are the soul. But whenever it needs, Prabhupada uses that trigger also. So India means we are identifying with the country, right? We are country, we are body. So sometimes he also mentions South Indian. Whenever when he went to South India, he was saying to South Indians also. There are so many acharyas came from South India. You have great responsibility to take up the mission. So here also he is triggering that identity, but for the right cause. It remains with the Indians to take up this task scientifically. So that's the best humanitarian work. Because we have such a opportunity to take birth in such a holy land where the Supreme Lord himself manifested in many incarnations. And we have such a rich culture. That's what Prabhupada is emphasizing here. We have such a responsibility to take up the mission and to share with many. And it's beauty that Prabhupada is saying mental diseases are of the present generations are more acute than bodily diseases. He is saying this is in before 65, right? 63, I think he completed within 2-3 years, first canto. It took around 2-3 years in 3 parts he did it. But it's in early 60s. He's writing that mental diseases of present generation. Now it's almost 55 years, or rather more than 60 years. Prabhupada then is saying the mental diseases. He's talking about that. So what to speak of now? So that's a very pathetic state of youth currently, and in general, in specific, but in general, everyone. The diseases of mental diseases are more acute currently. So we need to go to the root of the solution, as Prabhupada is mentioning here. Trying to distribute Bhagavatam, of course, distribute in the sense that we also try to understand it and try to apply and then share. Okay, 19th verse. Kutah punargrunato namatasya mahattamaikantaparāyanasya yoantashaktir bhagavan ananto mahadgunatvad yamanantamahu. Yeah. Please read.
And what to speak of those who are under the direction of the great devotees, chanting the holy name of the Unlimited, who has unlimited potency. The personality of Godhead, unlimited in potency and transcendental by attributes, is called Ananta, the Unlimited.
Please read, underline and highlight.
The Dvijabandhus, or the less intelligent, uncultured men born of higher castes, put forward many arguments against the principle of lower caste men becoming Brahmanas in this life. There are 10 different offenses in the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. To chant the holy name under the direction of a pure devotee means to chant offenselessly.
Yeah. So here, same thing. So the Goswami is saying that by taking shelter of the higher great souls, Mahatmas, we became purified, we became Dvija, we are qualified to speak the exalted Srimad Bhagavatam. And also what to speak of great souls, even by chanting the holy name of the Lord, just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, everyone becomes purified. And he is glorifying Supreme Lord's holy name and those who are taking shelter of the holy name. So, and then Prabhupada here especially emphasizes about, first he states about the same principle, how the Vijamantus, uncultured men born of higher caste, many put their arguments, how Shudras, they have to give up that body itself, because the body is a sinful reaction. Body itself is a prarabdha karma. So we need to get rid of that one in order to elevate ourselves. That's the main argument of Brahmanas, so-called Brahmanas. So, but Prabhupada here mentioning that just by chanting the holy name of the Lord, all the reactions, including prarabdha karma, will be destroyed. That's why he is emphasizing here the chanting of the holy name. So there are Prabhupada mentions about chanting holy name, how there are 10 kinds of offenses. We need to chant purely. To chant the holy name under the direction of a pure devotee means to chant offenseless. Of course, you also might have heard many sessions and attended Japa workshops. 3 stages of chanting, Prabhupada always speaks about: offensive and offenseless and pure chanting. At least offenseless stage is the wanted stage. Of course, we will just read a proper comment on this offenseless and offensive stage. Can you please read, Mataji?
There are 10 kinds of offenses. So, in the beginning, there may be offenses. It doesn't matter. It will be rectified. Offenseless chanting means mukti, and then pure chanting means love of Godhead. There are 3 stages. In the beginning, when one begins chanting, it is not pure. There are so many offenses. But chanting, the offenses become purified. Offenseless chanting is not purified completely, but it is offenseless. So, offenseless chanting makes one liberated, and then pure chanting makes one lover of God. This is the process. So, chanting is a great mystic power.
So this is from a lecture, Evening Darshan, in Rishikesh, almost in the 1977. So he is saying that here chanting becomes purified. Offenseless chanting is not purified completely. So as I said, the offensive, offenseless and pure chanting, as Prabhupada is making here clearly, 3 stages. First is offense, and then offenseless, and then pure chanting. So offensive stage, as we know that we have material desires, everybody has material desires. But if one is chanting to fulfill those material desires with the intention of fulfilling them, then it's called offensive stage. That's the main criteria. Offenseless means that though we may have material desires, but we are not trying to utilize the holy name or trying to chant to fulfill, praying to fulfill the material desires. That's the main criteria of offenseless chanting. We are not praying at the back of the mind that, dear Lord, please fulfill my desires. I have so many desires in this world. And everybody has many desires, but still we are trying to utilize the process of chanting, the potency of chanting to fulfill the material desires. If it is not there, then it's offenseless chanting. But it's not completely purified chanting. Offenseless chanting is not purified completely, but it is offenseless. Then pure chanting comes. As we keep on chanting without trying to fulfill material desires, they will be purified, and one day, as we reduce offenses, and then as we reduce in our purification of the heart, Ardha Nivritti, Nishta, Ruchi, Asakti. So as the stages grows, then is a manifestation of sun, of love of God. Because before sun evolves, there will be rays of the sun. They're called bhava, as we read in NOD. So that's how the chanting process works, and we are all in the direction, but we need to make some effort to grow in the direction. Chanting improvements will not happen automatically. If we think that our default behavior will change by default, then it's a dangerous fault. That's a statement, one statement I read. If we think that our default behavior in anything, either chanting or normal, if we think that our default behavior will change by default, then that is a dangerous fault. So we need to put efforts, we need to endeavor to improve ourselves. So then we can come to the stages of at least purified stage of chanting the holy name. Now Prabhupada glorifies Lord's holy name and how it purifies from all the disqualifications, including the lower birth. Okay, text 20. Etavatalam nanusujitena gunair asamyanatishayanasya hitveteran prabhayato vibhutir yasyang rirenum jushate anabhipso. Yeah, please read.
It is now ascertained that the personality of Godhead is unlimited and there is none equal to him. Consequently, no one can speak of him adequately. Great demigods cannot obtain the favor of the goddess of fortune, even by prayers. By this very goddess renders service unto the Lord, although he is unwilling to have such service.
Yeah. So here, as we are, section is going on about glorifying Supreme Lord by Sutta Goswami. He glorified just by chanting the names of devotees. I became Dvija. What to speak of chanting the holy name of the Lord? And then he's speaking about the Lord, that no one can adequately glorify the Lord. Even great demigods. Even including Mother Lakshmi, goddess of Mother Lakshmi. So that's the theme of the section is going on. This verse is saying about great demigods. And the goddess of fortune also hankers for his service, and they are unable to glorify the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada explains the extraordinary qualities of Supreme Lord. As the Shruti says that Natasya karyam karanam cha vidyate tas samasya abhidhighasya drishyate. So that verse he translates here. And he, of course, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, the great demigods, they are glorifying. And about Mother Lakshmi, he speaks here. Can you please read this yellow highlighted section?
Others ask for the favor of goddess of fortune, and despite such prayers and declines to award such favors, but still she renders service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, although he has nothing to accept from her.
Yeah. So, but still she renders service unto Supreme Lord, although he has nothing to accept from. Supreme Lord is completely Atmaram, completely self-satisfied. He just reciprocates with everyone according to their desires. That's the beauty of Supreme Lord. So here also, she is also trying, Mother Lakshmi, trying to serve the Lord, though he doesn't need it. That's the glory of the Lord. That's how Srila Goswami is glorifying in this verse. Great demigods like Brahma, Shiva, and Mother Lakshmi also. That's the glory of the Lord. Tathapi yatpada nakhavasrishtam jagat virinchopahrtarhanambah shesham punatyanantamo mukundat ko nama loke bhagavat padartha. Yeah, please.
Who can be worthy of the name of Supreme Lord but the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna? Brahmaji collected the water emanating from the nails of his feet in order to award it to Lord Shiva as a worshipful welcome. This very water, the Ganges, is purifying the whole universe, including Lord Shiva.
So continuing the same theme, that the glorification of the Lord. So what else the worthy name other than Mukunda? The word used here, Mukunda, by Acharyas. Prabhupada writes here as the name of the Supreme Lord, but Sri Krishna. So the glory is explained, and what else can be given the name Mukunda and Sri Krishna? How this verse shows that Lord has unlimited qualities, and they are revealed to great devotees like Brahma and Shiva. And Prabhupada mainly emphasizes on conceptions of gods and gods. How generally people in India especially, we have conception of various gods. They're all potent gods. Everybody thinks that everybody is supreme God. But Prabhupada has a unique position to establish we cannot become God, or we are not equal to God. We are all gods, devotees, auspicious. We belong to God. We belong to God. We cannot become gods. So that's the understanding Prabhupada explains here. Can you please read the highlighted section?
The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, and all the powerful demigods like Brahma and Shiva engage in the worship of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Therefore, who can be more powerful than Mukunda, Lord Krishna, and thus actually deserve to be called the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi Ji, Lord Brahma, and Lord Shiva are not independently powerful. They are powerful as expansions of Supreme Lord, and all of them are engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord, and so also other living entities.
Yeah. So Prabhupada explains how supreme position of Krishna with respect to all the other demigods, including Lakshmi. We want a little more elaborate understanding of categorization of the. We have Chaitanya Charitamrita also, wonderful description how Supreme Lord is described as the above all. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also in Madhuri Kadambini, if you want to just go through, it's a beautiful analyze the section with second offense of the holy name. He explains about the position of the demigods with respect to Krishna. It's a beautiful analysis. There he explains how independent, who are dependent. Basically, he says that independent are two, only Lord Shiva and Lord Krishna, or Lord Vishnu. They are independent. But all other living entities, including Brahma, they are all dependent. But independent in the sense that Lord Shiva has a special position. He is on the order of the Lord. He has given that position of independence. That's how he explains there. So that's the position of the Lord, position of the different demigods. We need to, of course, the second offense to the holy name. So when we understand the positions, then we can respect accordingly. Then only we can chant the holy name. Bhaktivedanta Thakur also sings that he says in one song, let me respect everyone according to their position. Deho nata yatha yatha. Tabe to gaibo harinama sukhe aparadha havehata. So then only I can chant the holy name without offenses. When we keep on respecting everyone, not only demigods, everyone. I'm not able to remember the first statement, first stanza, but the first line. He says that let me respect Devona Yata Yatha. Then he says Tabeto Gaibo Harinama Sukhe Aparadha Havehata. So then only I can be rid of offenses. Basically, offenses means without respect. We don't have respect to particular things or personalities, as we discussed last time. So we develop proper respect by understanding their position. So when we understand the position, we immediately start respecting them. If you don't know the position, then it's a little difficult to give respect. Let us suppose I am sitting for Srimad Bhagavatam class and somebody comes and sits next to me. And though they may be in saffron or they may be a brahmachari from other temple, unless I hear about him, then I will not be able to respect him. And once I think this last February, some devotees came from Nepal. Three brahmacharis came to temple to just to study the temple, to understand, and of course to give their association, but they also wanted to learn from something. So they were here for 3-4 months, and one day there was a Bhagavatam class by one of the devotees. So when the introduction was given, that time everybody come to know how exalted they are, especially the person who came as a president. He came. He has 3 temples to manage and 2-3 farms and other things. But till that time, we thought, he's another brahmachari from other temple. Unless we hear the position, it's quite general to take it as a normal person. So we need to understand the position, so accordingly we need to respect, thereby we avoid offenses. That's the point. Okay. Text 22. Yatranurakta sahasaiva dhira vyapohya dehadiju sangamudham brajanti tat paramahamsyamantyam yasmin ahimso pashamah swadharmaha. Is it?
Self-controlled persons who are attached to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna can all of a sudden give up the world of material attachment, including the gross body and subtle mind, and go away to attain the highest perfection of the renounced order of life, by which non-violence and renunciation are consequential.
So now till now he is glorifying the Supreme Lord and his name and his glory with respect to different demigods and the name, his name. What else the Supreme name can be given else? Mukunda or Sri Krishna. So what will happen by worshipping such a personality? That is spoken in this verse. So therefore, one should worship the Lord. That's what Jiva Goswami mentions. Because he is such a glorious personality. Therefore, one should worship him. And by the worship of Krishna or Mukunda, the devotees attain the supreme stage, Paramahamsa stage. So once we understand the supreme position, that naturally should cause one to worship him. Even in Bhagavad Gita also he mentions, Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Aham sarvasya prabho matta sarvam pravartate. One actually understands the truth. Actually one realizes. Then one starts developing first respect. Then slowly it transforming into bhava. Prabhupada beautifully explains that bhava word there. Now we start developing love towards the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada in one lecture mentions the question raised by Prabhupada himself, that how we develop love, because right now we are so much conditioned forgetfulness of Lord. He gave example of a married couple. Just like a married couple initially in arranged marriages, it's Prabhupada speaking about in the olden days. Of course now also some couples where they don't know each other. But once they married, they start respecting each other, and the dealings day by day with respect. They have different exchanges. Then when the wife starts regularly respecting and serving, as she keep on serving the husband, then there is with respect, it gradually grows into love. So similarly, Prabhupada spoke in that lecture that so we start with respect, understanding Krishna's supreme position, then we keep on serving him, and then we start developing love towards him. That's how it grows gradually. So can you speak? Can you read this highlighted portion? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhu. Only the self-control can gradually be attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Self-control means not indulging in sense enjoyment more than is necessary.
Yeah. So here, as self-controlled person, Prabhupada explaining here, Dhira, what is the words spoken by the Dhira? Tranurakta Saiva Dhira. So the Dhira Prabhupada is speaking about, and then once the Dhira means, Dhira here, how Prabhupada translates self-controlled. So the Dhira, the self-controlled, when he starts practicing Krishna consciousness, then he has to come to the stage of Paramahamsam if he is actually practicing. That's the test. For self-control, we have at least starting with, we have some control. And then as we practice, we increase our the control in the sense that Tani sarvani sanyamya yukta asita matparaha vashehi yashendriyani tatsa pragya patishtata. So Krishna is saying in the second chapter, the very beautiful section of 54 to 72. Tani sarvani samyamya yukta asita matparaha. Samyamya is saying you control first. Tani sarvani samyamya, you control. You keep it on me. Yukta asita matparaha. Then what will happen? Samyamya becomes vasha. Vasha means you conquer. Samyamya means control. The more you start trying to control whatever we have in our control, and we practice it, Tani sarvani samyamya, by keeping our consciousness, our focus, our endeavors in Krishna, yukta asita matparaha, vasha, it will become vashehi yashendriyani tatsa pragyapatis. Then it becomes conquered, vasha. Then conquering means Paramahamsa stage. Controlling means Dhira stage. Right now we are trying to control, at least to some extent. But conquering happens only when we start regularly controlling and practicing, and then we come to the stage of Paramahamsa, conquering the senses. So Prabhupada is a very beautiful purport. I just read a few lines. Self-control is actually achieved not by artificially stopping the senses from material enjoyment, but by becoming actually attached to the Supreme Lord, by engaging one's unalloyed senses in the transcendental service. So we cannot artificially stop them, just like Prabhupada gives example of a child in homes we might have experience. Of course, mind is also compared to a child, and in general, children are very restless. You cannot stop them particular thing. So you have to engage them in a positive activity. That is the actual control. It is the real meaning of the control of the senses. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning here. We engage our senses in the unalloyed service of the Lord, unalloyed senses in the transcendent service of the Lord. Yeah. So once we attain Paramahamsa stage, what is the symptoms of Paramahamsa stage? As verse mentions that ahimsa pushapannam. So that Prabhupada explains here in the last few paras that the moment we practicing and we are trying to have controlling and conquering the senses Paramahamsa stage, these symptoms will manifest. Ahimsa, free from envy. Real non-violence, ahimsa means freedom from envy. So that non-violence, ahimsa means free from envy. So Prabhupada explains that here everyone is envious, a fellow being. He loves every living being in relation to Supreme Lord. The moment he starts perfecting Paramahamsa, then he loves everyone in relation to the Supreme Lord. That's like I heard one small story by His Grace Rajam Prabhu. Once there was once in a village, to reach a village, two persons are standing in a bus stand. One old person and one young person, and many others are there. So they have to go to a particular village, and they were waiting for a bus. And when the bus comes, when frequency of the buses are little less, and when the bus comes, it is almost full. All the when the bus, it's almost like a last stop, just before reaching the further next villages. So the bus is so full. These two persons are trying to get into bus. They are unable to get in, and both are trying to get in, but they are unable. One is pushing, and one is unable to get in. So first bus went, and again the next bus came. Again the old person is going, a little ahead, but the young person is also trying to push him because he has little strength, but he was also could not get in. So 2-3 buses went, but they also both are becoming frustrated, and little some feelings of irritation is coming between each other. And then just the old person started struck a conversation. Hey, where you are going? He said, I'm going to this village. Oh, I am also going to the village. So where you belong to? Which family you belong to? So he said, Falana, I belong to this family. Really? You belong to that family? Whose son are you? He asked. Hey, why you are asking so many details? No, because I also belong to the same family. Oh, really? I am son of so and so. Oh, really? He is my very immediate relative. He is your father is like kind of my son in a distant, like kind of uncle wise. So then they were very much jubilant, and they were sharing and talking. And the next bus came. So now the relation became so very much congenial, very much loving. So they were encouraging each other to you should go fast. You should try to get in. So both are helping each other to get in. So the both took bus and went to village. So the beautiful story narrates that once they understood the relationship between both of them in relation to the family, they belong to, the higher relation, then it became quite easy. There was envious feelings or irritation feelings initially, but the moment they understood that they belong to a particular family, they are very much close and they were congenial it became. So similarly here Prabhupada is saying that Paramahamsa stage, but a perfect Paramahamsa being completely given to the service of the Lord is perfectly non-envious. Why? He loves every living being in relation to his Supreme Lord. So the more we are advancing means that we are trying to relate with everyone in relation to Supreme Lord. That's how we develop a very respecting, at the same time loving relation with all living entities, not only other devotees, other people. So that's the connection between Supreme Lord, which reflects in all relation with all the people of the world. Not only people, but things of the world. Everything in this world. So that's the relation we are striving to develop. That's the meaning of Paramahamsa stage. And the second thing about second qualification or second symptom is real renunciation, means perfect dependence on the God. First is we don't become envy of any living entity. And second is we are completely depending on the Lord. Real independence means complete faith in the mercy of the Lord without dependence on the conditions of the matter. Whatever conditions may be, we have full faith in the mercy of the Lord. That is Paramahamsa stage. Yeah, by understanding, by glorifying the Lord, by purifying our heart, we gradually attain to that stage, hoping in this life. Aham hi prashtoriyamano bhavabder achakshva atmavagumotra yavan nabah patantyatma samam patatrinas tata samam vishnu gatim vipaschitaha. Please read. Hare Krishna.
Madan Mohan Prabhu.
Translation.
4 rishis who are powerfully pure as the sun. I shall try to describe you the transcendental pastimes of Vishnu as far as my knowledge allows. As the bird fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, so do the learned devotee describe the Lord as far as their realizations allow.
Yeah, here Srila Swami summarized in the sense he glorified Krishna Katha in terms of devotees, in terms of the Lord, in terms of demigods, in terms of dhiras, the Paramahamsas, various categories. And then now he is speaking about himself. What is he is humbling himself. What can I glorify the Lord? I have spoken so much about different devotees and great demigods, etc., dhiras and all. As far as my concern, I can only glorify the Lord. He gave example to contrast it, to express it. That just as the birds fly in the sky as far as their capacity allows, I shall describe the glories of the Lord. So that's the mood and consciousness of a devotee. Anywhere he is there, we cannot glorify the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord is such a unlimitedly glorified, he has unlimited qualities. But still, one should attempt. It should not discourage us. Lord is so great. What can I do? I am such a insignificant person. No, I may be tiny, but I can be inspiring to many. That's by glorifying the Lord, inspiring to many in the sense that not by ourselves, but by glorifying the Lord. So yeah, he's glorifying. He's saying about himself that just as birds fly according to their capacity, I will glorify the Lord. Yeah, can you please read this para?
Madan Mohan Prabhu, will you be able to read?
Okay, I will read it to you. Hare Krishna. The supreme absolute truth is unlimited. No living being can know about are limited by his limited capacity. The Lord is impersonal, personal, and localized. By his impersonal feature, he is all pervading Brahman. By his localized feature, he is present in everyone's heart as the supreme soul. And by his ultimate personal feature, he is the object of transcendental loving service by his fortunate associates, the pure devotees. As bird can fly in only part of the sky, similarly, the great learned devotees can only partly estimate the pastimes of the Lord in different features. So, Srila Sutta Goswami has rightly taken this position in describing the pastimes of the Lord as far as he has realized. Factually, only the Lord himself can describe himself, and his learned devotees also can describe him as far as the Lord gave him the power of description.
Yeah. So that should be the mood of a speaker anytime, wherever we are trying to share Krishna Katha at our level. That's the mood of a consciousness of the speaker. Okay, till now, till 23, we have seen that how Sutta Goswami glorifying the Supreme Lord, and he's expressing his humility. So that we have seen. And then now from 24th to 31st, we will see how Parikshit Maharaj, the story starts here. The story, the unique story starts here. Parikshit Maharaj becoming angry at Samik Rishi for his improper reception, and how he dealt, what he did, what happened exactly, with whose inspiration all this happened. So we will see from 24th to 31st this section of Parikshit Maharaj becoming angry and giving a full reception. So 24, 25 verses we will read. The story starts. Ekada dhanur udyamya mrigan anugatah shrantah. Sorry. Ekada dhanur udyamya vicharan mragayam vane mrigan anugatah shrantah shuditas trishito brisham jalashayam achakshanaha प्रविवेशातमाश्रमं ददर्शा मुनिम् आसीनं शान्तं मिलितलोचनम्. Please read.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikshit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for the reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Shramika Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes.
Yeah, so here starts the story. Once upon a time means that the incident happened. Parikshit Maharaj becoming angry or becoming envious of particular personality. How it happened? Of course, Prabhupada reveals the secret in the first verse, first purport itself. But we can read. Can you read, Mataji? The first para, highlighted portion.
Supreme Lord is so kind to his pure devotee, that is proper time. He calls such devotee up to him and thus creates an auspicious circumstances for the devotee. Maharaj Parikshit was a pure devotee of Lord, and there was no reason for him to become extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty, because a devotee of the Lord never becomes perturbed by such bodily demands. But by the desire of Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty, and just to create a situation favorable for his renunciation of worldly activities. One has to give up all the attachments for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead, and thus when a devotee is too much absorbed in the worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference.
Yeah, here Prabhupada reveals the secrets and he gives beautiful statements about what happened to Parikshit Maharaj and what principles we need to learn and how one can go back to Godhead. What are the qualifications? So the main thing about Parikshit Maharaj, he says that he is a pure devotee of the Lord. There is no reason for him become There is no reason to become extremely hungry, thirsty, or fatigued. But Lord never becomes, because devotee of Lord never become perturbed by bodily demands. Because this is the elevated consciousness, he is not very much, though the urges will be there, but he is not disturbed by them. Disturbed in the sense, he is throwing tantrums, or he is becoming angry on others. He is tolerating, he is controlling, he is trying to tolerate all those things. But by the desire of the Lord, even such a devotee can become apparently fatigued and thirsty just to create situation favorable. So, to manifest Srimad Bhagavatam, to make Sukadeva Goswami appear and Srimad Bhagavatam to manifest, Lord orchestrated all these incidents to bring out Srimad Bhagavatam. That's the main point Prabhupada is mentioning. And he's giving lessons. One has to give up all attachment for worldly relations before one is able to go back to Godhead. And thus, when a devotee is too much absorbed in worldly affairs, the Lord creates a situation to cause indifference. These lines very much reflect what Prabhupada underwent. Actually, many purports Prabhupada writes his own reflections on his life. Prabhupada's life is such an amazing life. We can keep on verifying and hearing how such an elderly personality, of course, from young age he was very much into devotional service, even in childhood. But when he met Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and then he took up the mission very seriously, and he saw all the situations of his life are special arrangements of the Lord. How his wife was very much uncooperative, very much not liking towards devotional service, and all the companies, 2-3 companies he started, but all were failed. Some are looted by thieves, some are burnt in fire, some are burnt in fire accidents. Prabhupada took all it as he laughed at one instant. He came to know, I think it's just after 50s, and he came to know that his company caught fire. So he quoted the famous verse, Yasyaham anugruhnami harishe tattanam shanai. So that's how Prabhupada took it as a Krishna's special favor. That's what Prabhupada felt also, and also he explains in the further purports also, same thing. So we learn that we also need to, though some things may happen to our life, may not happen great things, but still whatever is happening, we take it as a Lord's special arrangement, and then we go ahead making the goal clear. Otherwise, whatever may happen, we will be disturbed, or we will be agitated or discouraged by many things that happen in our life. Then it becomes hazy. The goal becomes a little hazy. That's how hearing makes everything clear. Shravanam, it's a very important process. The Shravanam makes everything clear. Just like in Bhagavatam also one sloka comes that just like a monsoon rain, autumn rains clears the lake, purifies the lake. Similarly, Krishna Katha, Krishna Vanam, Bhakti itself purifies everyone, purifies the heart. Then we can see things clearly. You might have some experience that whenever there is rain, then when we see from a window or from top terrace, then things become quite clear, quite sharp in vision, because there is no dust, there is no any clouds or any fog. Anything is there in between. Even far distant things also becomes quite clear. We can see with contrast after the rain, especially. So that Shravanam has to be more and more has to be concentrated. Then things become more clear. Unless the goal is clear, everything will be hazy. And the moment things become hazy, then life becomes crazy. So we need to hear, just like here, there's the Prabhupada mentioning that we need to, when we have the goal going back to Godhead, we need to give up, one has to give up all attachments for worldly relations. So whatever it needs, Lord may create to cause an indifference, but we need to understand and take it as that's Lord's indication and go ahead with that. That's how Prabhupada explains here also about Parikshit Maharaj example. And Prabhupada mentions that they had it, quoting Arjuna's example, had Arjuna not been taken up with an illusion of family affection by the will of the Lord, the Bhagavad Gita would not have been spoken by the Lord himself for the good of all concerned. So Lord made the arrangement. So the point is that Prabhupada mentioning that the Supreme Lord's will, Parikshit Maharaj had become fatigued and hungry and thirsty, so that Srimad Bhagavatam would take place, would be arisen, would be spoken. So that's how he explains. So that's the story, starting story of Parikshit Maharaj going to forest and trying to search for water when he became thirsty. 26. Pratiruddhendriya prana mano buddhim uparatam stanatrayat param praptam brahma bhutam avikriyam. Yeah.
The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the three: wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness. Having achieved a transcendental position, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute.
Yeah. Can you please read that first line?
It appears that the Muni, whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance.
Yeah. So here, basically, how Parikshit Maharaj entered the sage Samika Rishi's cottage, and when he entered, when he saw that the Muni, the sage, is in trance, then the sage's position, absorption, is explained in this verse. What was the Muni's position? So he was completely absorbed beyond the three stages. We have basically the consciousness is expressed in 4 stages: Jagruta, Swapna, Sushupti, and Samadhi. So there 3 stages are mentioned here. He was situated in trance apart from 3 stages. So the trance is the Samadhi stage, and Jagruti, wakefulness, Swapna, dream stage, unconscious or deep sleep. It's called Sushupti. So these 4 stages where the consciousness expressed, manifests basically. So he is beyond 3 and he was in 4th stage. There is in Samadhi. Of course, Prabhupada explains about 3 kinds of transcendentalists: Jnani, Yogi, or Bhakta. So these 3 are considered a transcendentalist who can be absorbed in trance, who can be absorbed in a transcendental position. But of course, he gives a clear-cut contrast between Jnana, Yoga, and Bhakti. But only by Bhakti one can be fully in Samadhi 24 hours. So Prabhupada always makes it a point to glorify Bhakti. And it's true. Yoga, Jnana, Karma has its own limitations to people, places, and times. A child can't practice karma yajna. A child can't do any kind of yajna. Can he? Right? Even 2-3, let us suppose 2-3 year child is there in your home. It's quite difficult. It's not possible at all. It's not qualified at all to do yajna. He has a particular age, particular pronunciation, particular initiation, particular mantras he has to chant. So karma cannot do, yoga is no question, jnana is no question. He cannot read only what to speak of understanding scripture and delineating between body and spirit and all. But bhakti, yeah, wonderful. He can chant and dance and he can bring some madras, beta kuch lao, Bhagwan ke liye offering karenge. He brings water, he brings glass, he brings whatever. So that's the beauty of bhakti. Anyone, anytime, any position, any place, any qualification. So bhakti is such a beautiful and simple process, but at the same time profound. That profound effect is always there. That's the beauty of bhakti. That's the glory of bhakti. That what is mentioned in Prabhupada, especially Prabhupada is glorifying in contrast with his samadhi. Sage was in samadhi, completely in trance. When the king saw him, he was in samadhi, basically. Okay. Vipragirnya jata channam rauravena cha vichushyat talur udakam tata bhutam ayachata. Yeah, please read. Hare Krishna.
The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water.
Okay. So here, just by saying it, though he was in trance, but king, I mean, he definitely he saw him, and he understood in that urge of thirst, he asked for water. He is not, definitely he is aware that sage is meditating, but he asked for water. Yeah. Alabdatruna bhumyadir asampraptyarghyat sunrutaha avagnatam ivatmanam manyamanas chukopaha. Please read.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
The king, not received by any formal welcome by means of being offered a seat, place, water, and addresses, consider himself neglected, and so thinking he becomes angry.
Yeah. First error.
The law of reception in the course of Vedic principle states that even if an enemy is received at home, he must be received with all respect. He should not be given a chance to understand that he has come into the house of an enemy.
So here, Sukha Goswami is just narrating that the king went and asked for water. The sage was in trance. So the inner thought process of king is explained here. So generally, any guest comes, normal guest also comes, you need to be given a seat or a place and water and street address. These are all considered the law of reception, even to an enemy. What to speak of a normal guest, and what to speak of a king, like Parikshit Maharaj. So this was quite a situation. So Prabhupada explains the law of reception, what it should include, how one should be received, even to an enemy. Prabhupada explains about famous pastime of Jarasandha, dealing with Arjuna and Bhima, taken by Lord Krishna to Magadha. So though Jarasandha know that Bhima and Arjuna were enemies, but still he gave such a kind reception and asked anything to ask. So that's how you might have heard the story, beautiful story. So Prabhupada explains about law of reception. Even any poor man can offer some water, some seed, and at least some sweet words. So therefore, to receive guests, either friend or a foe, there is no expense. It's only a question of good manners. It's just a question of good manners. You need to receive any guest. So that's the law of reception. To become angry in a grave situation was not unnatural for the king, but because the king himself was not less than a great saint, he was becoming angry and taking action were astonishing. So it must be accepted that it was so ordained by Supreme Will of the Lord. Yeah. So because he's a king, generally it's everyone has that position to be respected. So generally, of course, we learn here a different lesson that though when we are identifying with particular position, we may expect some things. So that expectations may arise, may give rise to, may cause some emotions, especially anger and etc. But here he's a king and he has that position and he deserves that position. But because of complete will of the Lord, he might have not done like that, but it's because of the will of the Lord. He thought like that. He is not respecting me. Abhutapurva sahasa krutrubhyam arditatmanah brahmanam prati abhut brahman matsaro manyurevacha.
Oh, thus the king, due to the circumstance of extreme hunger and thirst, unprecedentedly directed his anger and envy toward a Brahmana sage.
So he became angry, unprecedentedly directed his anger and envy towards Brahmana sage. Now he's feeling like that internally. Now it's he is trying to, the anger and envy are manifesting now in a particular action. Let us see what will happen. So generally internal emotions, they manifest externally, either by words or actions. Of course, Prabhupada always, from all the purports, Prabhupada come to the conclusion that it's all just by will of the Lord. The king was right to punish his subjects for his cold reception and neglecting him. But because it's the only justification Parikshit Maharaj's behavior is ordained by Lord. So that's the main point. Prabhupada always drives home that point in all the purports. So what he did, how the emotion came into action. It is Satu Brahmarishe Ramshe Gatasum Uragam Rusha Vinirgachan Dhanush Kotya Nidhaya Puramagataha.
Translation. While leaving, the king being so insulted, picked up a lifeless snake with his bow and angrily placed it on the shoulder of the sage. Then he returned to his palace.
Yeah. So when emotions are unchecked, then they has to become words. And if they are also not controlled, if the emotion is so high, then it becomes actions. So now here is becoming action in the sense that he took up a lifeless snake nearby his bow and placed him on his shoulder. Then he came back, then he returned, then he left the place. So Prabhupada writes that the king treated the sage tit for tat, although he was never accustomed to such silly actions. By the will of the Lord, the king, while going away, found a dead snake in front of him, and he thought the sage, who had coldly received him, thus might be coldly rewarded by being offered a garland of dead snake. Yeah. That's how the things are orchestrated by the Lord. Text 31. Esha kim nivritasesha karano milite kshanaha varsha samadhir ahoshvit kim nusyat ksatra bandhubhi. Yeah.
Translation. While returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had been
Feigning
trance just to avoid receiving a lower kshatriya.
Feigning means
the king, being a devotee of the Lord, did not approve of his own action, and thus he began to wonder whether the sage was really in a trance or was just pretending in order to avoid receiving the king, who was a Kshatriya and therefore lower in rank. Repentance comes into the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong.
Yeah. So now he garlanded the sage, garlanded in the sense that with the snake, dead snake, he put it around, and he's just left the place. But the moment he left the place, then immediately some thought came into his mind, arguing himself. I mean, saying basically he's contemplating himself that whether the sage had been actually is in a meditation or is just feigning or pretending, basically pretending the trance just not to receive a lower kshatriya. That means lower kshatriya in the sense that kshatriyas are generally in the lower order than brahmanas. Brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya and shudra, the ranks. So Parishit Maharaj was just contemplating what happened exactly. Prabhupada writes a beautiful statement. Repentance comes in the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong. So that's a default psychological behavior, especially in mode of goodness it happens. Mode of passion and ignorance quite difficult to reflect. Reflection is the symptom of mode of goodness. Reaction is the symptom of mode of passion. And there is no either, nothing is completely, I mean, the mode of ignorance is, it doesn't understand what exactly has to be done also. There's no decision at all. So reflection, he was reflecting what happened exactly. Why did I act like that? Was it actually is in meditation? He's trying to pretend, just trying to reflect. So of course, Prabhupada comes to the same point that it's all just by the will of the Lord. He has a plan made by the Lord to bring Bhagavatam into picture, which is incarnation of the Lord himself. Pure devotees, mundane frustration is meant to elevate the devotee to a higher transcendental position. So that there is a cause, if there is something mistaken done by a great person, that means there is a chance to elevate the devotee to a higher position by the Lord. The devotee like Maharaj Parishit are powerful enough to forbear such distresses caused by the will of the Lord. They are never disturbed. The situation in this case was therefore all planned with the Lord. We will see the beautiful verse, it will come up. It will come in the end. Though the devotees are distressed, and in any situation they are the devotees are never disturbed. But he became disturbed because of Lord's arrangement. 32. Tasya putro ati tejasvi viharan balakor Ragnagham praptitam tatam shrutva tatrenam abravit.
Translation: The sage had a son who was very powerful. Being a Brahmana's son, while he was playing with inexperienced boys, he heard of his father's distress, which was occasioned by the king. Then and there, the boy spoke as follows.
Yeah, please read.
Due to Maharaj Parikshit's good government, even a boy of tender age accustomed to playing with other inexperienced boys could become as powerful as a qualified Brahmana. This boy was known as Shringi, and he achieved good training in Brahmacharya by his fathers so that he could be as powerful as a Brahmana, even at that age.
Yeah, so here Prabhupada in the first two paras mentioning. So till now the situation, the context is that he garlanded and he was going back, and then he just thought, so okay, whether he is in meditation or in the trance. And from this verse onwards, 32 onwards, where the discussion comes how the boy became, a boy comes to know how how this king, because of his arrogance or angry, how he garlanded the dead snake on my father, and the boy becomes the son, the Shringi, becomes quite angry. He felt very offensive, and then he he expresses something out of his anger, and then he curses the king, the Parikshit Maharaj. We will see. Of course, after that, then he comes to his home, and then he meets his father. Then father regrets what the son has done, and then Samikrishi prays to the Lord to protect that's his son because of his immature activity. So that's the section 32 to 50. And 33 till 35, he speaks, Shringi speaks, and then he curses. He curses him. We'll just see the. So here the verse is saying that son became aware of the Brahminical power. So Samik Rishi was in a different hut, and the boys were playing. His son was also playing with at a different place. But by the power of Brahminical power, the Brahma Tejas, such is the Brahminical power. He came to know what had happened there in Kutir with his father. So then he speaks, of course, the further verses. But Prabhupada brings out the point that how the Brahmanas are the boy, even the boy became such powerful. How he became such a powerful in his Brahma Tejas. He says that because he gives credit to Parikshit Maharaj good government, because he had such a good government, and also his father gave good training in Brahmacharya, so he became so powerful. So we can also understand if we have good government, in the sense that at an individual level or at a temple level or at a home level, at a state level, whatever, we can apply that. A good government means having good environment. Good environment means no to sinful life and yes to spiritual life. There is no any chance of, just like Parikshit Maharaj curtailed the Kali, curbed the Kali, not allowing its sinful influence. At the same time, he gave all the spiritual activities to encourage the spiritual activities. So that means creating an environment. In home also, we create a powerful environment. In temple anyway, definitely, there are all powerful environment is created. And in home also, we can definitely create a wonderful spiritual atmosphere for all the senses to see beautiful pictures, inspiring and elevating and very touching. Any pictures and photos for the eyes, for the ears to music, very soothing, very elevating, very inspiring music, kirtans, songs in the morning and evening, especially. And for the fragrance and different we can use, of course, those who are worshipping the deities, they have altar, at least they have wonderful fragrance in the house. So like that, all the senses can be fully absorbed in the spiritual atmosphere. Then there will be not much chance to waver the senses here and there. So the environment has to be very powerful and good training, especially the children. We create this environment for everyone, especially for children, it will have great impact. Here the boy is given an example. He became so powerful because both environment and good training. Training because of his father's empowerment him, encouraging him to utilize such an environment. Training him means empowering is encouraging him, inspiring him, so that he becomes more and more powerful. Of course, that power should be used for the right cause. That's the main advantage. That should be the main understanding of a Brahmana family. So both Prabhupada mentioned both because of good government and good environment, good training, the boy became so powerful. But of course, Prabhupada explains that he became a victim of Kali because of his immaturity. And why it happens, why the boy became a victim, Prabhupada only explains in the later verses. Let us see. Aho adharmah palanam pivnam balibhujamiva swamnyagham yaddasanam dwarapanam sunamiva. Please read the translation.
The Brahmana's son, Shringi, said, "Oh, just look at the scenes of the rulers who, like crows and watchdogs at the door, perpetrate sins against their masters, contrary to the principles governing servants."
Yeah. So here, so the scene is that situation is that the Shringi came to know, and then he's speaking to the boys. So he's expressing his anger because he was identifying with the Brahmana attachment, and he became aware of what happened. Then he's expressing criticism of the king. So that's expressed just like he is comparing. It is criticism at different levels. But when you give examples, then the criticism becomes quite sharp, quite penetrating to the heart. I mean, just like piercing the heart with arrows. So here he's comparing with crows and watchdogs at door, the kings. He's comparing the kings to crows and watchdogs. So that's a beautiful purport Prabhupada explains, but we go ahead. Brahmanai ksatra bandurhi grahapalo nirupitaha sakatam tadgrihe dvastaha sabhandham bhoktumarhati. Yeah, please. Hare Krishna.
The descendants of the kingly orders are definitely designated as watchdogs, and they must keep themselves at the door. On what grounds can dogs enter the house and claim to dine with the master on the same plate?
So he's criticizing in the previous verse by saying that they are crows and dogs, and he's specifically giving an activity, becoming more sharp criticism that generally dogs stays at the door, but when they enter in the house and they dine with master, and it's generally considered very, of course nowadays they consider it such a glorious act to keep the dog next to oneself and the dining table. And if the dog is eating from a particular plate, then that person is considered so elevated, especially in Western countries. If the dog is sleeping next to you in the bed, that person is considered a very glorious, a very fortunate person in the family. But of course, we understand from the Vedic understanding, dogs are not, definitely they are given good respect, they are given respect, but it's not supposed to be dining with masters from the same plate. That's what Prabhupada is mentioning, and the verse is mentioning. When you read these lines.
Explanation of the analogy. He compared the king to a watchdog and thus concluded it was wrong for the king to enter the home of a Brahmana and ask for water from the same pot. The dog is certainly reared by its master, but that doesn't mean that the dog shall claim to dine and drink from the same pot. This mentality of false prestige is the cause of downfall of the perfect social order, and we can see that in the beginning it was started by the inexperienced son of a Brahmana, as a dog is never allowed to enter within the room and hearth, although it is reared by the master. Similarly, according to the Shringi, the king had no right to enter the house of Shonaka Rishi, Samika Rishi. According to the boy's opinion, the king was on the wrong side and not his father, and thus he justified his silent father.
So the mentality of false prestige is the cause of downfall of perfect social order, and we can see that But in the beginning, it was started by the inexperienced son of a Brahmana. Now, Prabhupada brings this point very clearly in his purports on how a Brahmana community, the whole Brahmana community, started dwindling in its power because of this false prestige with identifying I am a Brahmana. I can take any action. I can do anything. I am the ruler. That what exactly in the next verse says. When they took the role of the supreme ruler, Krishna. So that's how the false prestige happened, and then the dwindling happened. The next verse says that the boy is assuming himself as the supreme authority. Let us read that one. Krishna gate bhagavati shastrari utpatagaminam tadbhinna chetun adyaham shasmi pashyata me balam. Sorry, I think it's in the same mode, maybe take a few seconds. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Maybe from your text you can read if you have 35 translation.
After the departure of Lord Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead and the supreme ruler of everyone, these upstarts have flourished, our protector being gone. Therefore, I myself shall take up this matter and punish them. Just witness my power.
Yeah. So Shringi is saying that no, Lord Krishna left this planet, so there is no authority to control all these people who are misbehaving with Brahmana community. I'll take the authority. I am the great responsibility now. So there is no one. I'll take the action. So the mistaken activity has to be punished. So I will take. So now the anger is a little bit rising more and more in him because of identification with that false prestige, identification with the Brahmana community. Taking responsibility of punishing is though it's not his responsibility, but he's assuming that responsibility. Of course, punishing in the sense that punishment is not about revenge. Punishment is not for revenge, but for reformation. Even all the jails, any reform, any punishment we speak either to children or to people, to keep in them jail, or do whatever punishment. The form of punishment may be different, but the main purpose is reformation. Even the punishment by giving us the material body. I mean, the material nature is punishing us with the different kleshas. Different kleshas are coming, and different three kleshas are coming, and fourfold miseries are coming. But they're all not to take any revenge on us. But it's the deeper purpose is to reform ourselves, to understand our real identity. The same with that Shringi also has to be actually, but he thought, I mean, his mood is not to kind of reformation, his mood of only a kind of revenge. He thought of, I should take action. I shall take up this matter and punish them. So because of Prabhupada writes that the inexperienced Brahmana puffed up by little Brahma Tejas and became influenced by the spell of Kali Yuga. So he's influenced and then he became the victim of Kali, and then he's assuming the responsibility of supreme authority. Prabhupada writes that an upstart with a little power wants to become an incarnation of the Lord. So, Prabhupada quite here it says that in other words, the personality of Kali got the opportunity to reign through this son of Brahmana Shri. So Kali taken advantage of this person to reign through. We need to be careful in the sense that, of course, for personal application, anger should not take us on ride to take a severe actions. Anyone. Okay. 36. Ityuktva roshatamraksho vayasyan rishibalakaha kaushikapa upasprashya vagvajram visasarjaha. Please read.
The son of the rishi, his eyes red hot with anger, touched the water of the river Kaushika while sticking to his flame and fled, and discharged the following thunderbolt of words.
So now it became climax anger. I mean, he spoke the curse, and just to show off his playmates, and see, he's saying, Prabhupada saying that Shringi was showing his impudency among his playmates who were innocent. So Kali took advantage of this boy, and that's how the curse came on Parishit Maharaj. Iti langhita maryadam takshakah saptame hani dangshanti dankshati smakulangaram chodito me tatadruham.
Translation. The Brahmana's son cursed the king. Thus, on the 7th day from today, a snake bird will bite the most wretched one of that dynasty, Maharaja Parikshit, because of his having broken the laws of etiquette by insulting my father. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, now he spoke that on the 7th day he spoke the curse from 7th day, and on the 7th day from today, one snake will bite Takshaka bird. So Vishwanath Thakur mentions that because a dead snake was put on his father's shoulder, so a living snake will bite. That's the comment by Vishwanath Thakur. Of course, Prabhupada in principle mentions that misuse of Brahmanical power has begun from Shringi. So everyone is misusing the culture and the power of Brahmanas. Yeah. Of course, Prabhupada gives a theological application. One should see to the root cause of vitiation and not try to condemn the system as it is without knowledge of its scientific value. So the Brahmana or the Kshatriya or the Vaishya Shudra, they have particular activities, duties. What exactly happened to the Brahmanical community, we need to see. And then we should not just because the cataract is there, we should not pluck out the eye. That's Prabhupada's main point. Just the whole system, Brahmana, because just Brahmanas are corrupted, we should not just disregard the whole system itself. That's what the main point. We should not just condemn the whole system itself, because this is Krishna's creation. Everything will be perfect. But because there is misutilization of the power, especially the power of Brahmanas, so everything became spoiled. Tatobhyetyashramam balo gale sarpakalevaram pitaram viksha dukkartho muktakantoru rodaha.
Thereafter, when the boy returned to the hermitage, he saw the snake on his father's shoulder, and out of his grief, he cried very loudly.
Yeah. So now, till this 37, the scene was where the boy was playing with all his playmates, and then he came to know and he cursed them. He cursed Parishit Maharaj, and then after cursing, he felt a lot of some guilt or some kind of feeling, a heavy feeling. So he ran back. Generally, children's if something goes wrong, if they do something wrong, they immediately feel some guilt or run to parents. Similarly, boy ran to his father, and then there the situation is explained from this verse. So by seeing his father, he started crying. So Prabhupada explains the reason. The boy was not happy because he committed a great mistake, and he wanted to be relieved of the burden of his heart by crying. So after entering the hermitage, so he started crying loudly, so to relieve the burden of his heart because of the mistake he committed. Okay. Maybe we'll stop with 1 or 2 verses. If you have any question, we have 1 question we can take. Savangiraso Brahman Shrutva Sutavilapanam Unmilya Shanakay Netre Društva Chamche Mruto Ragam. Yeah.
Vishwajit, Prabhu.
Yeah, please. Please read.
Okay. O Brahmana, the rishi who was born in the family of Angira Muni, hearing his son crying, gradually opened his eyes and saw the dead snake around his neck.
So just because of crying, immediately the sage opened his eyes. He was in meditation. He opened his eyes, and though after opening eyes, he saw the child is crying, but immediately he came to his perception that there was something is there on his body. That gradually opened his eyes, saw a dead snake around his neck. So what happened after seeing this? Visrujyatam cha prapacha vatsa kasmadhirodasi kena vate pakrutam ityuktah sanyavedayat. Yeah.
He threw the dead snake aside and asked his son why he was crying, whether anyone had done him harm. On hearing this, the son explained to him what had happened. The father did not take the dead snake on his neck very seriously. He simply threw it away. Actually, there was nothing seriously wrong in Maharaj Parikshit's act, but the foolish son took it very seriously. And being influenced by Kali, he cursed the king and thus ended a chapter of happy history.
Yeah.
Events may not be in our control, but the experiences are.
Yeah, from the point of view of Samik Rishi, Prabhupada beautifully explains here that he did not take any serious. I mean, he didn't took seriously the activity, the act of Parikshit Maharaj. But the foolish son took very serious. So the events may not be in our control, that I'm putting the snake and all, but the experience of becoming angry or not, Samik Rishi is completely in control. I mean, he understood what exactly. Because sun is only so much powerful. He could understand. Can't Samik Rishi could understand what had happened? Yeah, he definitely might have understood what exactly happened, but he didn't took anything serious. So that's Prabhupada mentions here. Understanding the exact situation. So sometimes events may not be in our control. Just like Samik Rishi had been dishonored per se, apparently, by Parikshit Maharaj. But the internal experience is something different. He will explain later. Samik Rishi in his own words, maybe in next class we will see. His experience. So the external events may not be in our control all the time. But the internal experiences, internal reactions are in our control to some extent. We can have. Okay, we'll pause here because of course it's already 4:29. But we have 10 verses in this chapter and 40 in the next. We can surely complete in 2 classes tomorrow and next Saturday. That is allotted to me. So we can surely complete without any rush. So we will pause here. If you have any one question, maybe you can try to share something. Yes. Please speak.
Prabhuji, I have a question. In text 18, last line of translation, even by conversing with the great souls, one can without delay cleanse oneself of all disqualifications resulting from lower births. So, Prabhuji, my question is, how a spirit soul develops disqualification from taking birth in lower species or lower, taking birth in lower. species or birth,
Yes.
or and why it is why is it persisting while moving to even higher worlds?
So your question is why soul is caught up in this lower births?
No, how it's developed this qualification from lower birth?
How it can develop a higher qualification?
No, Prabhuji, how a spirit soul develops this qualification from taking birth in lower.
How soul is taking disqualifications?
Yes, Prabhuji. How it develops this qualification.
What Mataji meant is that soul is pure. How by just
Yeah.
taking birth in lower birth, how it can have any disqualification? Soul.
Definitely here exactly soul taking, definitely we understand soul is different from the body and soul doesn't have any designations on itself. Soul is always pure. As we read all the qualities of soul in a second chapter, soul doesn't have nothing to do. Soul doesn't have nothing to do with the body. But Prabhupada, as Prabhupada explains, that because the desire to enjoy became in this world, and because of the desires that we have, Krishna Bhuli Jiva Bhogavancha Kare Nikataste Maya Nikataste Dhare Maya Chapatiya Dhare. So when the soul desires to enjoy separately from Krishna, it is given an opportunity to enjoy in this world. And by those desires only, different species of life we keep on continuing. And when it comes to human birth, in human birth also at different various levels are there, various qualifications are there. Qualifications in the sense that just like Shudra birth is considered quite low, but it's not just by birth, as we always talk. It doesn't mean by having a Shudra birth we are disqualified. It's all by qualities, guna and karma. So that defines the qualification. The soul doesn't have any disqualifications. But because of having a wrong desires, so it's keep on moving in different species of life. In even human life also, it keeps on rotating in different disqualified bodies. Is it making sense?
Yes, Prabhuji. And Prabhuji, what kind of, can you give us any example, what kind of disqualification? No. Example of any disqualification.
Disqualification? Yeah, here.
जैसे कुछ होता है, जैसे हम कुछ चीजें अभी भी मतलब जैसे भक्ति में जब आते हैं तो हम कुछ चीजें कर पाते हैं, कुछ नहीं कर पाते, तो is it because of disqualification?
No, these are all disqualifications. Especially for Bhakti, when we talk about, there are no any disqualifications. So for Bhakti, that's why it's the beauty of Bhakti. Prabhupada explains later, as I also talked about. Striyo Vaishya Sada Sudra Depi Yanti Paramgatim. Either boy, girl, woman, man, anyone, there are no any disqualifications for Bhakti. But for all the process, karma, jnana, yoga, there will be so many restrictions. Even for women, karma, jnana, yoga, they have a lot of restrictions. But for Bhakti, there is no any disqualification. Of course, for the practicing limbs of devotional service, there may be some restrictions to particular activities, but they are restricted only for particular activities, as you are mentioning. For performing some limbs of bhakti for particular times, they may have some restrictions, but they are not disqualification for practicing the whole bhakti itself. Maybe for a particular time and particular place, particular person, they may be. It's not disqualification. It's a, we can say it as a. It's not a disqualifying oneself. It may not appropriate time or place. In the times also, it's not that you're barred, one is barred to perform bhakti or practice bhakti. That's the main point. Even though one may be having different bodies and different times, one may not perform particular limbs. But remembrance of Krishna, there is no bar. Anyone, anytime, any place. One can always render. There is no impediments to perform bhakti. Otherwise, why bhakti is independent? That's how bhakti is independent. It's not dependent on anything. So there are no disqualifications for anyone, anytime, anywhere for performing bhakti. Hope it's making sense.
Okay,
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we pause here. Then is it okay, Anuj bro? I think it's
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for the wonderful class.
okay. You mentioned about sloka test. Okay.
I'll make
Okay.
some
Thank you. Hare.
related to exams.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Okay. We'll pause here. Thank you for everyone for your patient and patient hearing and tolerating. So we will complete our 18th and 19th tomorrow and next Saturday. Maybe around 25 verses each class. Hare Krishna. And for now.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavas. So all there were 4 or 5 announcements related to OB and CB exams, which I posted just now in the group. Now, the only thing remaining is the shloka schedule. So this I have made. So whoever is present, if they have like genuine like concerns, so they can let me know. I can change now. Otherwise, we'll stick to it. Let me just. One second. You can see the schedule, right? So we will have 6 devotees, like 3. So shloka test will go parallelly for Prabhujis and Matajis. So there will be evaluation team from BVRV, and so each devotee will be allocated like 25 minutes. Maybe like there will be gap of 5 minutes, so 20 minutes plus 5 extra minutes. And we'll start from 7:15. First devotee, then 7:40 next devotee will come, and then third devotee at 8:05. So 7:15 to 8:30 on these 4 days, and 3 Prabhujis and 3 Matajis.
Prabhuji, in the WhatsApp you mentioned 17. We will start from 17.
Mataji, sorry, by mistake I have written 16:20. Monday is 16th, right? Sunday, yeah.
Prabhuji, word to word translation, but now we can use our
But translation is not required, Mataji.
you translate with our in our language, our own words.
Yes.
Haribol, Anuj Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
Jagannath Govindas here. Prabhuji, I am traveling from tomorrow. So till 24th, I am for Kerala Yatra. And I even as a coordinator Seva. So it will be quite difficult for me to appear on 18th.
If you can write on any of these 4 days, these dates are given by BVRV, and not possible, then can you write a mail to Shakshi Prabhu and like expressing your concern? So I don't know when they will be scheduling next and etc.
Maybe Prabhuji, if Jagannath Govind Prabhu wish to swap with me, then we can swap.
Prabhuji, you can choose any of the day that swapping can be named like out
Like
of
he can take on 16th of, he can give on 16th October and I can give on 18th. Is that okay with you, Prabhuji?
No, actually, right now, no, Prabhuji, I am not first of all prepared, and second thing is I am traveling from today evening.
Or is it?
But I will let you know, Anush Prabhu, soon.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhuji,
Yes.
Poonam this. Prabhuji, actually, my slot was on 16th October, 8:05 to 8:30. Actually, during that time, my phone is with my son because he has some online class.
What time?
So, yeah,
7?
so his class is from 7 to 8:30 on Monday only, every Monday. So can I take Tuesday anytime?
Any Mataji can volunteer whom I can exchange with.
Okay. I mean, I can try. I mean, it's not difficult, but then I thought in case I got, if someone is ready to exchange. Okay, fine,
Any
Prabhuji, I'll
Mataji.
try.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. My slot is on Wednesday, Prabhuji. Wednesday, I have a class from 8 o'clock, Prabhuji. 8 to 9.
Speaking, I am unable to see.
This is Gopika Sundari Devidasi here.
Mataji, can I keep yours on Monday?
Fine, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I want to
One second,
slot.
One second.
Prabhuji, then I can swap. Mataji, just a sec. So the Mataji who is on
Yeah, I have
Wednesday,
swapped Mataji. You can see that screen.
yeah.
Mataji, I have swapped.
Okay, okay. So Mataji's good name, Mataji.
This is Gopika Sundari Devidasi here.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Mataji. So your sort, yeah, I mean, we will exchange now. You will be on Mataji's
Yes,
slot.
Mataji, I have written in the sheet that is done.
Okay,
You
okay,
can
okay.
just
I'm
see the
sorry.
screen.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes,
And
sorry.
next, Prabhuji was saying something.
Prabhuji, I have a lot of meetings on Monday evening, like all
This
meetings.
is Anand Mohan Prabhu, na?
Yes,
Any
I mean,
Prabhuji, any devotees, any Prabhujis would like to take it on Monday?
actually, I'm okay before
Hare Krishna, Jamu bol rahe.
by 6, before 6. But from 6 o'clock, a lot of meetings starts.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. और कोई devotee कुछ बोल रहा है?
Can you swap mine? I don't want it on 18th. It's Rajkishore's birthday.
And so when
Maybe Tuesday will work for me. Any Mataji who's having on Tuesday will like to exchange for Wednesday.
any Mataji can, Shruji Mataji, Apurva Mataji, or Shrimani Mataji can take on Wednesday. I think later devotees will be happy only.
We can postpone, Prabhu, not prepone.
Yeah, postpone only. From Tuesday.
I'm having last.
Yeah, you can postpone for Shriji.
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm just sarcastically saying. Mataji wants it on Tuesday, and mine is on Wednesday. So we can postpone even later, but not prepone.
Yeah, this is fine, right? Any other devotee has any other concern?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I also want to change my slot.
I am unable to.
Rajagauri Devidasi.
Rajkishore.
Because I have to go to one function, Prabhuji, on Monday.
One second, Mataji. Okay, one second, Mataji. I'll stop recording.